Hey guys, today I'm going to be telling you about this new way I do a water change on my tank. So to give you a quick idea of how I do water changes on my tank usually, first I just get my 2.5 gallon bucket and start siphoning water into that, and then once it's full I stop the siphon and dump it out the window, and then I repeat until the tank is halfway empty. And that usually I only take out about 3 buckets of water because it gets harder to restart the siphon as the water gets lower in the tank. So to make that process go a little bit faster, I came up with this idea where if I just had a longer siphon, one that could reach out the window, I wouldn't have to ever stop it. I would get a new siphon, one with a bulb that you can just press to get the water flowing, and get just plain tubing without the actual nozzle. And that plain tubing would just be the part that goes out the window. So I ended up getting those two things, a new siphon with a bulb on it and just tubing. The new siphon came in humongous, and all 3 of them were different size tubing, which actually ended up being a good thing because then you could just attach them a lot easier. So I tried out my idea, putting the tubing out the window and the siphon in the tank and then connecting them and trying to get the water started, but it wasn't working. So then I just tried to get the new siphon started in the bucket just to see if I can even get this large siphon started, and I couldn't even get it started normally in a bucket. The new large siphon ended up being way too big for my 20 gallon. So then I decided to just try my old siphon. So I connected that to the tubing that's hanging out the window, and normally it is pretty easy to get that siphon going because I'm used to it and it's small enough, but turns out there wasn't enough pressure for that water to even reach the window. So at that point I thought this whole idea was a fail, but then I decided to try just starting my usual siphon in the bucket as I usually would, and then as the water is flowing out of that siphon into the bucket, I would take the end of that siphon that's in the bucket and connect it to the tubing that's hanging out the window. Of course, I connected them over the bucket so that water wouldn't get on my carpet. And luckily, since the new tubing was slightly bigger in diameter to my gravel cleaner siphon tubing, I was able to just easily put them together like that, and that did end up working. However, it was a small trickle coming out of the end of the tubing that's hanging out the window. So to get a strong flow going, I had to put most of the tubing out the window, wait a few seconds, and then pull some of it back in before I could start siphoning the tank. But basically, that ended up working, so that is what I've been doing ever since. I've just been starting it normally in the bucket and then connecting them while the water's flowing. And this way I am able to now just siphon the tank as long as I want, and only once. The only part that really concerns me about this new tactic is the small fish in the tank possibly getting sucked up into the siphon while I'm sorting out the tubing, because I have to leave the nozzle in the tank while I'm connecting the tubes and doing all that stuff. And if one of the fish were able to fit through the nozzle of the gravel cleaner, they would be sucked through and out the window rather than just the bucket. That did happen once with a neon tetra. Of course, that was when I was still doing the bucket thing. I don't have any neon tetras in my tank currently. It's just guppies that I'm thinking might be the only fish that can fit through that hole in the gravel cleaner. So then I thought if only there was a lid of some sort I could put on the gravel cleaner temporarily while I sorted out the tubing. And then Life with Pets channel, if you know her, probably do, she recently came out with a video talking about this lid for a gravel cleaner. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been needing, but those are a bit too expensive for me, and I don't really know if they'd fit my old gravel cleaner. So I might try making a homemade one if possible in the future, but for now, I just have to hope for the best and do the whole tube sorting really fast. So this idea would only work if my tank was close to my window, otherwise I'd have to get an extra long tube. I couldn't get a python hose because the only tap in this house that could possibly fit a python hose would be the one in the basement. And another reason I couldn't get a python hose is because a lot of sand always comes out of the gravel cleaner, and I don't think my parents would want sand going down their drains. So if you guys clean your tank similar to me and actually dump the water out your window rather than down the sink because you don't want sand down the sink. And if your fish tanks just happen to be close to a window that you dump water out of, then this tactic might work for you too. That's why I made this video, just in case any of you might need it. So if this video helped you, let me know. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye!